This time I'm going to go over some things that people have had problems with. So I'm going to just bring in a random dress. And looking at this, you can see that it has dotted lines on it in addition to the grain line that is also dotted. That means they're internal lines, whether they're inside or outside the piece. Dotted lines mean they are internal lines, whether they are inside or outside the piece. It's the fact that they're dotted that makes them internal lines. If in customization, is it in customization? Yeah. If it says clipped and dashed, then your lines are dotted and you can tell that they're internal lines, and that becomes really important later. So I'm going to turn them to solid. Some of you have solid lines. So I'm going to apply, save, and OK, and now I can't tell that those lines are dotted. It makes it harder for me to know where some things start and end. So if you have that on your pieces, please go up to Customize. It's in the Edit tab, Customize, Display, clipped in the down arrow boxes, and then dashed in the down arrow boxes. And then apply, save, and OK. So now I can see that they're dotted. I've had a few people, let's see, I'm going to create a line that I can't see on purpose. Most of you have them and you just don't know that they're there. That one's a little bit more seeable. And you accidentally have these little lines. And so you have these mystery endpoints of a line that you don't know where they came from. And usually when you're working on your skirt piece, they're harder to see because they're just right on top. So if you end up with extra triangles that are unexplainable, they are probably a line that's disappeared on the piece, and it's what I call screen garbage that makes it difficult to save your pieces properly and choose different lines and different points. So to get rid of that line, you're just going to go up to Modify, Delete Line, and choose it. Well, it isn't going to delete that line. I accidentally got my solid perimeter line. If I say OK, oh dear. Well, that doesn't look good. So I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to be more careful about highlighting this line. So I'm in Delete Line, and I'm going to move around. And you can see that I have actually highlighted that line. It's yellow. So I'm going to release. Now it's red, and I'm comfortable deleting it. And now it's gone, and I can go on and trace pieces off and solve problems. Okay. And I know there are other things people were having difficulty with. So this is a design line, and because it happens to be here and I want to trace off a piece, if I go to Create Piece Trace and I trace this off not in order, and I say OK, and OK again, it says that the perimeter's closed and it can't create a new piece. But if I choose the pieces the lines clockwise and in order, there's my piece. You just have to go clockwise and in order. So I would give it a new name, give it your name. But if you have a piece and you went into the originals, so we'll come back to those. This is a former final project. I'm going to say File New, and that just opened a new work area for me. So I'm going to File Open, and I can only see the models. So I'm going to switch to piece. So now I can see all of the pieces. I'm going to open that. I don't think that's what I wanted. File Open. Okay, so I can't find what I want. I'm looking for my original pieces. So I'm going to go to the P drive on 0 share. That's P drive, 0 share. I'm in File Open. It says piece, and I'm opening it. I'm going to go all the way to the end to the Z section. And it's ZF13 for bodice front. And I'm going to hold down the control key. So bodice back, bodice front, F13 8, skirt back, skirt front, and sleeve. So I'm going to open those. If for any reason that you write over your pieces and change them from the original, if you open one and you think it's supposed to look like this and it doesn't, it's because you accidentally wrote over it and didn't give it a new name on one of your assignment pieces. So if you need to, you can always go back there and get it. But if you want to keep any of these in your file, don't just save them this way. You need to do File, Save As, and I would choose this piece, and I'm going to change it from what it says to my name. And then you've got your original back. And when I hover over it down here, you can see in the description that this is the piece. When I come to this one, it hasn't been renamed. So any piece that you want to use, rename it with your name and then save it. But before I save it, I'm going to cancel, and I'm going to come up to Edit, Customize Paths, and double check and make sure. So it is going to my C drive. And I didn't have to say Apply, Save, and OK because I didn't change anything, but it made me happy. So when I say save this piece, now it's been saved in the file, and maybe I did it a second time, but I wanted to make sure I saved it. So you would do that with any piece that you wanted to keep here, and then you would close this work area because you don't want to overwrite the original pieces, because then nobody can go back and fix their pieces. Then we had some questions about saving. Okay, we did some fun things with this little dress. So when you're saving your pieces, you want to put them in a model. And if you're doing something that I ask you to keep a map with, then I want you to keep the map too, and that's what this piece is. So make sure that they're all labeled correctly, and then you'll go up to File, Create Edit Model, Add Pieces. I want to give it a new name because it's my model, so except I don't, this is just for practice. Choose all the pieces, say OK, there are all of the pieces, and I'll say OK. So when I close this, if I decide I want to close it, then it's going to say I have 2 unsaved pieces. Are you sure you want to exit? Well, if I changed one of those pieces and I don't want it changed, then I can't say save and exit. I have to go cancel and undo whatever I did. But if I want to save my changes and save the model, because if I don't say save and exit, the model won't be saved. Save and exit. Oh, so do I want to overwrite that? And I'm going to cancel that one. I'm going to cancel that one. But it saved my model. Okay. I think that's it. Did I cover all the things? Oh, deleting lines. We did delete line, but we didn't delete or move a point. So I'm going to File, Open, my bodice front. So here's my bodice front. Let's say I cut off a piece, and this has more to do with some of the skirts you were doing. But if I had this piece separated and I traced off a little piece, create piece trace, and that's my piece, I would want to put a notch on there, so I'm going to say cancel. Create notch, and I'm going to put a notch on it so I can't tip it over, and then say OK. Now when I trace it off, both pieces will have a notch in the same place. So create piece trace. I'll start with my big one down the center front. I'm going clockwise in an order and touching the part of the line I want to trace. So even though these two are highlighted in red, I touched the line here, then I touched this one, and then I touched the line there. So it's ignoring this other part. Alright, I'm saying OK. And I want to keep my bust point and my grain line, so I'm going to say OK to that. And there's my piece. Now I can choose the little one. I don't need any internal lines. It got its own grain line. And I'm going to say OK to that piece name too. I could give it a different one if I want to. Okay. So what I'm doing now is not an assignment. This is how to troubleshoot things. So if I didn't trace this off quite correctly, I want to double check and look at it. Modify, set rotate, select the match point on the target piece. I have to make sure that this piece is highlighting and that I actually highlight that corner where it says that it's got the corner. Then I want to choose the line, and now it's asking for the match point on the set piece. I have to carefully choose the one that aligns, and then the corresponding line, and say cancel. So they're lined up perfectly now. I can fix grain lines if I want to. If I want to move that grain line, I can come up to Modify, Line Move, touch the grain line, right click, and then just set it so that it's inside the piece. Well, some of your skirts are really difficult and involved, and if they are, then I'm proud of you. And if they're not, you need to find a level that you can accomplish, and I understand. So if you're finding that your pieces don't quite line up, and we're going to pretend that this corner isn't matching, and I'm going to move this point so I can fix it. So say it's off a tiny bit. From a distance, that might be a 1/16 of an inch. But we can do it perfectly, so we're going to try. So everything else is lined up fine. It's just that one point that's out of alignment. So I'm going to zoom in really tight so I can see them. Go up to Modify, Point, Single Point, and I'm going to, oh, there, I have to make sure this is highlighted. Touch, hold, slide, highlight the corner, release, it's moving, and then I'm going to touch down and land right on top of that corner. And it isn't absolutely perfect, and I can tell that, so I could move it again. That actually looks better. It's still less than a 1/64 of an inch off, so I'm going to leave it alone. But you can move a single point, and you can move a line, and you can rotate a piece. We'll come more into that later. But I wanted to go over seam allowances briefly. I'm not sure whether that was in one of my silent videos or not. If you already understand seam allowance, you can stop listening. But if I want to add seam allowance to this, I'm going to go up to Advanced, Seam, Define. Over here it says to select a line or a piece for seam allowance and selection to continue. Well, I want the same seam allowance on both of those pieces, and I want it to be 1/4 of an inch, so I've selected it, but I have to say OK. Now it says to enter the seam allowance amount, so I could enter 0.25 or 0.625. And here I am looking at that, and I haven't closed my dart ends. And I know that was bad English. I'm going to cancel and fix that. So in Advanced, I'm going to go over to Darts and Fold. Select the dart on the side to fold to. It goes down, so I'm touching the down. Oh, and there again, I didn't have all of my options selected. So Darts, Fold, come back over here, and before I choose those things, I want to choose Include Fold Lines and Include Notches, because if I don't, then I can't see my dart to sew it later on. So now I can choose the dart on the side to fold to, and I can still see the dart, and this one is folding toward the center. Uh-oh, it's not a real dart. Alright, Modify, Line, Combine, clockwise and in order. Now it's a real dart, and I can go back to Advanced Dart Fold and choose the line folding toward the center. Okay, so now I've got real darts. I can add my seam allowance. I'm still in Advanced, Seam, Define, choosing both pieces. Say OK. 0.625. And OK. So that looks good, but this is on the fold, so I'm going to choose just this one line, say OK, and tell it 0, and now it's back so that I can cut it on the fold. Alright, so I have this little thing, and I want to flip it over so I can see how well it's going to sew together. So I'm going to go up to Modify, Piece, Flip. I'm going to make sure that the button that says Flip Around a Line is highlighted. Select the line to flip around and then continue. So I've chosen the line, say OK. OK again. And now I can move this and line it up, and I think I have it exactly. But if that doesn't work for you, just go to Set, Rotate, and align those 2 points. Okay, so this is not factory sewable. You're going to have the likelihood of a sewer sewing it like this, and then when you flip it back the other way, it's going to align like this, and it's going to look terrible, and everybody's going to say, "What are you thinking?" So we're going to flip it back. And we're going to align it where it should be aligned. So I could set it down right there because the lines have disappeared on top of each other, but I'll do it the other way. Modify, piece, set, rotate. Select the match point, touch, hold, slide, highlight the line, release when the point appears, and then choose the line. Touch, slide, hold, slide, highlight the corner, and then the line. If you don't highlight the corner, it's going to be offset funny. Okay, so now that I've got it in this position, and you can use this on any piece that has a little corner sticking out. This is called premitering. You're going to go to Advanced Seam again, come over to Corners, down to Double Miter, select a corner to make a double miter corner. So I want this one, and it will only highlight the solid line. If I had swapped the lines first, it would have given me the other edge. But either way works. When I swap it, it will be right. So I'm choosing the solid corner. The line starts moving. I'll line it up exactly where it belongs, and then it moves on the other end, and I'll line it up, and now it's cut off. So when it gets sewn together, it will be perfect. I'm going to modify, flip that again, and that's how it will sit, and your notches match exactly. So, well, I'm going to undo that. If this were an assignment and I wanted to turn it in, I would align the pieces on the page so it can be turned in. At least visually on canvas. I will still have to check your work in the room, but I want to see that it's getting done, and I want you to feel like you've turned things in even before I get to see them on the screen. So what you'll do now is open a Word document, and I don't know if I can do that from here. I can, so I'm opening a Word document, and I want a blank one. So this is all ready, and I'm going to make it small. Now I have the pieces on my screen where I can see them, and I'm going to look at the keyboard and press the Alt button, which is the third one from the left on the bottom, and the print screen, which is the third button from the top on the right, at the same time, and then release. So that's like copy paste, and we've done the copy part, and now we're going to open Word and right click and paste, and there it is. So I can see that that's your homework from that page, that assignment, and you'll put it on Canvas, and then I'll know that it's done, and I can come in and give you a real grade and feedback if you need it. If you're having problems with a piece, that's another good way to send me a message that says, I need help with this, what did I do? And I can look at that on Canvas and get back and tell you so that you can fix it. So when you've got that, you'll just say File, Save As. I'm going to put mine on the desktop so I can find it when I want to turn it in. And I'm going to call it Assignment 1, but you know, it could be your Dart assignment. And it's saved. So your next thing would be to go onto Canvas and upload it as a JPEG. In fact, if I want to, from right here, I can right click on this and say Save Picture As, then you wouldn't even have to save your Word document. We've got portable network graphics. JPEG is going to work better on Canvas. So I'm going to name it Seams, and I will just paste it into my Canvas assignment page to turn it in. And then you'll also need to turn it in on the P drive, but not today. Alright, that looks like a good place to stop. So we reviewed some things. We talked about how to move a line, delete a line, move a point, and had some review. If you've got more questions, please just text or email, and if it helps, send me a picture.